to our podcast, This Is My Story. I'm your host, Karen Quatra, and we're going to hear about the weird reality of RAD. If you're one of our loyal listeners, welcome back. If you're new to our podcast, make sure you head over to our channel and check out our welcome info episodes. That's episodes 1 and 2. And get properly introduced to what reactive attachment disorder is and the type of therapeutic parenting that we talk about here on our podcast. So either way, if you're new or you've been here before, it's great to have you join us here today. This podcast is interviews with parents and kids and professionals who are all sharing their stories with us on a wide range of topics and experiences, anything from their craziest happenings to their journeys of healing that they've been on. Today is Tuesday, April 21st, and you're listening to episode number 8. This is the second part of our interview with Anne. So if you haven't listened to last week's interview, episode number 7 that we did with her, make sure you head over to our channel and check that out also. Last week she told us her story about her healing journey, the ups and downs, and what she went through. And this week she's answering questions for us. We've done a really great Q&A session. So make sure you listen to the end to hear all the great information she has to tell us. And really excited to share this with you. Anne is one of the most amazing people I've had the opportunity to work with, and I'm so grateful that she was willing to share her story with us and answer these questions here today. So let's get into it. All right, welcome back to our podcast, Anne. It's great to have you again. For any new listeners, do you want to just quickly tell us who you are and where you're from?
Sure. My name is Anne Yoder, and I live in Georgia, and I was adopted from Kazakhstan when I was 13 months old.
Excellent. All right, so we're going to just do a Q&A here and get some questions that will sort of follow up on the last episode we did with Anne. So if you haven't listened to that, you can check it out on our podcast. So the first question I want to ask you was, if there was a time when you remember feeling different from other kids, when you realized you didn't think or feel the same way that other kids around you did?
Yeah, I would say it probably when I went to school, the local private Mennonite school in 5th grade is when I kind of first started to see that I maybe struggled with things that other kids didn't seem to, or I struggled more than kids seemed to. I would say that's when I first started to feel like something was different.
Yeah. And what was that feeling like? Like, was it just something you sort of passively noticed or thought of, or was it something that you tried to figure out?
I did try to figure it out. I think I kind of tried to diminish the panicked thought that I could possibly be different than somebody else. But I do. It was, and I think I always kind of knew that my adoption figured into it, but I didn't realize the depth of how it would figure into it.
Right. And it's not something you get told. So you kids are kind of left to figure that out on their own a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So did you ever feel like you would always have RAD and you'd never get better, you'd never get over it, you'd never be a normal kid? Did you ever have that feeling?
I did, very, very often, honestly. I think a lot of RAD kids, I know I did, struggle with kind of an up and down. You think you'll never be able to do it, and you get discouraged and depressed, and it's like difficult and all of this, but then you also have moments where you're like, well, I don't know, maybe I could do this. And then you kind of slide back down into the, oh, I can never do this. So I think it's kind of an up and down journey. But I definitely did have a lot of moments where I felt like I would never be able to change.
Yeah. And when people would tell you that you could get healthier, you could heal from this, did you ever believe them, or was it just kind of nonsense?
I thought it was nonsense. I would think, they didn't fully understand my situation, or they didn't know all of the details, or there would always be something that I didn't think they knew that would prohibit me from healing.
Right, because you would figure if they didn't, go through the same thing you did, so they have no idea if you would or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, when your parents started using therapeutic parenting, how old were you when they kind of first started that journey?
I was 15.
Okay, so camp was kind of the beginning of all of that?
Yes.
Okay. What did you think or feel about that when your parents took a whole different approach to parenting?
Yeah, I thought it was dumb, and I thought it was a little bit weird. I didn't see how, if all these other things hadn't worked, why this would. And I thought it was maybe for littler, smaller kids, not 15-year-olds. So it was definitely weird. I thought it was kind of dumb, but it turned out to actually work pretty well.
Yeah, it does. What were some of the things, because I know you were, most of our campers, probably their average age is, 8 or 9, some a lot younger. What were some of the techniques that helped you the most as a teenager using them?
So my parents didn't use the strong sit and the more of those things as much because I went back to the residential then, but they did use more of a talking technique. So they would ask me, they would shorten the questions down, or they would not reply to certain things. And it confused me, but it eventually made sense, and I figured out why they were doing that to try to help me. So.
And when did you realize that you could actually change your life and get healthy? That in a way it was up to you to decide to do that?
I would say at camp it kind of triggered the thought, but I kind of pushed it away until we began doing sessions with the rad therapist after camp. And it was more of a journey than an instant thought. So it was kind of a building, maybe I can do this. And then as things started to get better and I started to deal with more things, it just became it was a journey more than just an instant, oh, I can do this kind of thing.
Right, yeah. And what's the most helpful thing someone did for you while you were on your healing journey?
Probably just my parents putting out the effort to get the help that I needed. I mean, they tried so many things that didn't seem to maybe help as much, but they still continued to try to find something that would help me, and eventually they did, and they did a really great job of that. So I would say just being consistent and using the techniques that they had been given.
Yeah, excellent. And then this is kind of a little bit off that topic, but what made you the most angry or the most upset about having to work on your life when you realize how hard it is to get healthy and work on healing? What was kind of the thing that made you the most angry about that?
I think it was actually just the fact that I had to work on my life. There's all these other people that seem to be getting along just fine, and I am struggling so hard. And so I think it was just the fact that I had to work on my life.
Yeah, kind of comparing yourself to everyone else and thinking it's not fair that you have to work so hard and they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what was the transition like going from being in residential, not with your family, and then having these therapeutic techniques and going from that angry kid to being so healthy and loving and kind? What's that transition like?
It is rocky. There's moments where could still struggle with it at times, and I would have to remind myself, I got this, kind of thing. And then also just talking to my mom when I was struggling, saying, hey mom, I'm feeling kind of like I could be slipping back into this, how can I avoid this? Because I don't want to go back to being like that. So just maybe talking to my mom about it.
And then I've met you now, and like I've said before, looking at you and being with you, I never would have pictured you as being one of these crazy kids with RAD. And what kind of reaction do you get when you're working with other families who are going through this and they hear your story? What kind of reaction do you get from them?
Kind of the same reaction, just like, wow, like, I can't believe, like, there, that you could be like that. Or, yeah, I would say kind of the same reaction. It's usually shock.
Mm-hmm.
And wonder also at what helped and how this change occurred.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it makes a lot of parents feel like there's actually hope for their kid when they can see the journey you went on and how, completely healthy you are now.
I hope so.
Yeah. I want to throw in a random question here.
Go for it.
You mentioned in the previous podcast episode about school. So you were homeschooled, and then you went to a Mennonite school, and then you were in high school you did while you were in the residential treatment center.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of families who think about homeschooling their kids because school is so tough. How was that for you when you were fighting the relationship with your mom and then she was also your teacher?
That is actually one of the reasons that I eventually went to the Mennonite school, because I wanted to go to that school because, yes, school, we would just always fight. I thought I knew how to do school, but she was trying to help me find a better way, and I wouldn't listen. And so it was very difficult, and I'm sure it was very difficult for her because I made it difficult. But that is eventually why I went to the Mennonite school, because I would fight her so hard in school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then once you were in that school, did you find the relationship with your mom any easier, or was it still just as hard, but maybe in a different way?
So the actual school part was pretty much the same, but the relationship, I would say, actually maybe almost got worse, because then I had other people to talk with and, bond with, and instead of mom, I could talk to a variety of other people. So it actually kind of made the relationship worse.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I know a lot of kids, when, they're in that trauma state in their brain, they do all the manipulation and the triangulation. Did you try that when you were going to school, trying to, triangulate between your parents and the teachers or whoever was there?
I did many, many times. So, yeah. To my own discredit, but yes.
It's quite a normal RAD behavior.
Yeah.
But, for other parents who are sending their kids, what is something that you think the teachers could have done to make that a little less?
Maybe talk to my parents, keep my parents in the loop instead of letting me keep my parents in the loop.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, that's probably the main thing, is just go to the parent, not the kid.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then when you fulfilled your high school requirements, a lot of our kids don't find school easy because, they're so worried about survival. They have no thought left for schoolwork. What was it like doing high school requirements? Did you feel like you were, at par with the other students, or was it harder for you or easier for you at that point?
Mm-hmm. It was actually, schoolwork was something I could put my thought into when I was unwilling to put my thought into healing. So for me, it actually went pretty well. I kind of failed myself my 9th grade year. But then as I continued to heal, I actually got better grades. So it improved as I worked on healing.
Yeah, I hear that a lot, that, kids say once their brain wasn't so busy trying to be in control or so filled with trauma, that they had a lot more brain left over to do schoolwork with.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sounds great. That was all the questions I had. So thank you again so much for joining us for this episode.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll have to get you back sometime we'll find another topic for you to come talk about. It's great to hear from you.
All right, yeah, you too.
Alright, so that is the end of our interview with Anne. This was the second part of the interview that we did. If you missed out on the first episode, head over to our channel and listen to episode number 7. Couple things I wanted to mention. Anne did talk again about going to camp with her family, and that is one of the Healing Hearts bonding camps that I've talked about in several episodes. A lot of our families go to them, and it's just a great place to learn about therapeutic parenting and the brain-based behavior intervention program that we use, and also to connect with other parents and professionals who are going through or have gone through the same thing that you're struggling with now with your family. So if you're looking for a place to connect for that and get all that great information, you can check out the camps at attachment.org. They're run by Families by Design, and their website has great information about that and the schedule of upcoming camps for the year. Anne also makes really great points about school. She talks about how having teachers or a school setting that wasn't using therapeutic techniques really hindered her relationship with her mom. When she felt that she could get all of the attention and attachment she needed at school or from her teachers, she didn't feel she needed it with her mom. So it's really important that our teachers can use therapeutic techniques, they can work together with the parents, and they can help our kids to want to be with their parents, to look at their parents as the bonding and attachment figure in their life. So if teachers are wanting more information, we have resources on our website. We also have a book. It's called What Are They Doing? And it gives really great information about therapeutic parenting and what people can do to help a child bond with their parents and overcome their trauma. And that is available on our website, theradishranch.org. Go to our page to shop, and you'll find it on there along with some other really great resources you might want to check out. So that is it. Thank you for joining us on this episode today. Check out the description below. We're going to have information there on our podcast and also about the RADish Ranch. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel and you've turned on the notifications if you haven't already. That way you can get our episodes straight to your inbox every Tuesday morning. Be sure to check out our other social media. So we have a Facebook page as well as an Instagram account. And we post on both of those almost every day with resources and information for parents, caregivers, therapists, respite providers, anyone living or working with a child with reactive attachment disorder. The songs on our podcast are The Way Things Go and Come Down, both written and recorded by French Press, and we've used them here with permission from them. This Is My Story is brought to you by the RADish Ranch. I'm your host, Karen Poitras, and I will see you next week. Stay awesome!